Welcome to week one of the 2014 season. Yes, it's finally here, folks. Game week. And we have a special Google Hangout guest today to kick off game week. We'll get to him in just a moment. First, I need to remind you that today's Google Hangout is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com. Now, moving on to our first Google Hangout of the 2014 season, it's my pleasure to welcome in a preseason All-American punt returner. He's also a starting cornerback for Robert Morris University, Antawn Eddie. And I'm not even going to ask him if he's ready, because I know he's ready. I was out at Robert Morris this past May for the NEC Outdoor Track and Field Championships, and Antwan, of course, you were a volunteer. You were working on the hurdle crew. I saw you down on the track, and you looked like you were ready to put the pads on then, and that was back in May. Now it's August. It's game week. How do you feel? I mean, you must have been waiting for this for a while.
I've been waiting for it since the summer started. Like you said, way at the track meet in May. I mean, the camp came around, and now I'm super excited. The team's super excited, so it's just making me even more excited.
Now we know you're one of two teams to kick it off for the NEC on Thursday night, August 28th. Bryant will play at Stony Brook, but you guys, the Robert Morris Colonials, will open the season at home against Eastern Kentucky. And before we talk a little bit about Eastern Kentucky, let's speak in general terms here, because not only does Thursday night kick off a new season, but it kicks off a new era in Robert Morris football. Coach John Banaszak will coach his first game for the Colonials. Can you just say, what has it been like in the first training camp under Coach Banaszak? Obviously, you knew him a little bit from your previous 3 years as he was a defensive coach with you guys, but now he's the head man. What has it been like playing Banny ball, so to speak?
Banny ball, first off, I can say it's been different. Walton was a great coach, but Banaszak has changed the program tremendously so far. So we have a lot under our sleeves for the first game, and we have a lot of tricks that we're ready to display.
What can you say about playing for a coach such as John Banaszak? Not only is he experienced on the defensive side of the ball, but he's someone who played in the NFL and has a number of Super Bowl rings from his time with those legendary Pittsburgh Steelers in that steel curtain defense. What is it like to be able to play for someone who has accomplished so much in his career? And you know, have you learned anything, any tricks from Coach Banaszak?
I mean, I learned a lot so far with Banaszak, even coming in as a freshman. He actually helped me as a freshman learn the defense when I came in. And another great trait about Banaszak is that he's a winner. He knows how to win. He knows what it takes to win. So I'm excited to win with him.
Well, we know Coach Banaszak was a winner in his playing career, and obviously he was also a winner as an assistant coach at Robert Morris. Robert Morris won the NEC back in 2010 and represented us in the FCS playoffs. We all know that. So we know Coach Banaszak's a winner, but what do the Colonials need to do to be a winner this season? What are the keys for you guys to turn it around and have a winning record for the first time in a couple of years this fall?
The thing that we have to do this year is basically everyone has to be on the same page. Everyone has to do their job and their job only. Coming into camp, we had a lot of rookies that wanted to be playmakers, but we had to sit them down and make them realize this is not high school no more. And this is college, and it's a different type of game. So we actually took them under our wing, even with Banaszak, and we showed them the ways to build. So it's going to be a building process, and when their class comes, it's going to be crazy. But with my class going into my senior year, it's going to be a great year for me because we have become more of a family.
Now, as a senior, as someone who has all NEC credentials, do you feel like a leader on this team, and do you feel a sense of responsibility to take these younger players under your wing and teach them the way of Robert Morris football?
Yes, I actually took a couple of the DBs under my wings. We have a lot of rookie DBs, and we have a couple rookie linebackers, but the rookie linebackers have fallen under more of the Mike Stocks wing. So, but the people that I took under my wing, I took them and allowed them to watch film the right way, taught them the playbook a lot. So, I mean, they feel like they're ready, and I feel like they're ready also.
Now, Antwan, you mentioned the linebackers for a second there, and I have to mention the fact that Robert Morris graduated two guys in Mike Cook and Kyle Cooper. I mean, that was 200 tackles right there. That was a whole lot of tackles that left the defense from last year. Who should we look for to step up and fill that void on the defensive side of the ball? And are you confident that you guys have the playmakers to come in and take over the roles that were left vacant by Cooper and Mike Cook graduating?
Right now, Mike Stokovic and Mueller, they actually are kind of somewhat of veterans in the defense. Mike Stock was out last year due to some injuries, but he learned the system, and he's more of a leader to the linebackers, and I'm more of the leaders to the DBs. So I'm looking forward to playing with Mike Stock and Mueller. And the younger guys, they're hungry, so I'm looking forward to playing with them.
What could you say about the defense as a unit? Obviously, you haven't played a game yet, but you've been in camp with these guys, a lot of practices, a lot of sweat, a lot of hard work. Has this defense taken on an identity yet? Is there something that we can look for, some kind of theme for this defense for the year ahead? What's your MO going to be on the defensive side of the ball?
For the secondary, I'm looking for playmakers. The whole camp we have been intercepting passes, yes, against our offense, but we're playmakers in the secondary. And the defensive line and the linebackers, they're hungry too. And a lot of hard hits, so I'm looking forward to the hard hits and interceptions this year.
Now, when we think cornerback, especially this day and age, with a lot of pass-happy offenses, it's always about covering a receiver one-on-one and pass coverage. Mm-hmm. But as we know, the run game is a big part of football here in the Northeast Conference. How would you say that you personally stack up as a run stopper, and is run defense something that you take pride in as a cornerback? Like we said, cornerback, it's a one-on-one covering the guy's number one receiver, the opponent's number one receiver. We know what you can do there, but how do you view yourself in run defense?
In run defense, a lot of running backs think cornerbacks can't tackle, they only can cover. But I feel like, personally, I'm a different type of cornerback. I can cover your best receiver, or I'm coming down to make a solid tackle in the open field, or whatever I have to do to get the running back down. So this year, it's going to be a big factor for the run stopping defense, and I'm going to definitely come in and help a lot.
Now, you mentioned covering a number one receiver. We saw you do that last year. Bryant's Jordan Harris, who graduated as the all-time leading receiver in NEC history. He's in NFL training camp with the Rams right now. We saw you lock him up last year, only 2 catches. He didn't get in the end zone. Obviously, that was a big challenge for you, but you passed the test with flying colors. I want to ask you the question in this way, though. We know what you did about Jordan Harris, but what about on your team? Going up against the receivers on your team, who's the toughest to cover? Who is your toughest matchup in practice every day? And do you kind of have a rivalry going with any of the guys on the offensive side of the ball out there at Robert Morris?
That's a tough one. But the receiving core we have is a great receiving core. But coming in as a freshman, you guys are probably familiar with Duane Mitchell. Duane Mitchell and I have been going against each other since freshman year. So it's kind of a friendly rivalry. So I mean, and he has good body control, so he actually teach me how to be a better corner. But we also have another corner that I would like to put out, Sean Gavin. Pretty great receiver, number 14, and his routes are pretty crispy. They're really not too fast in the speed area, but he will definitely get to where he needs to get and catch the ball.
So it looks like the starting quarterback is going to have a few weapons at his disposal this year. And, of course, you mentioned Duane Mitchell. He's a preseason All-Northeast Conference pick. So he's coming off of a solid campaign. And so, obviously, you guys came in together, your classmates. So I should have known that you would have had a little bit of a rivalry or some history with Duane. And, obviously, Duane was a Google Hangout guest last year. So and obviously, we're pleased to welcome you in and kick off the season this year. Before I let you go, I have to talk about special teams and the importance that plays in the game. Of course, your All-American credentials are as a punt returner. You were third in the NCAA FCS last year in punt return average, 15 yards per return. Will you be returning punts again this year? And just talk about that, what that means to you, being a punt returner and that part of the game, how you developed that part of the game. Because I know your first couple years at Robert Morris, you weren't returning kicks. That wasn't part of your game. So can you give us shed a little light on your growth in that area?
Like you said, my first 2 years here at Robert Morris, I was just purely a cornerback. Going into my junior year, I went to Banaszak's office, closed the door, and let him know I want to do punt return. Because punt return was my job somewhat in high school, and I was pretty good at it. But when I talked to him about punt returning for the Robert Morris Colonials, he said, why not? It's a good idea. And he said that he'll give me a shot for the first game. And since then, he loved me. So it's just my duty to return punts, and it's an honor to do it for the Robert Morris Colonials. And returning punts it's a fun thing to me. I like to get the ball not just on interceptions, but I like to get it punted to me and me catching the ball and just going. It's just a rush for me, and it actually helps me get the offense going, helps me get the fans going. So it just brings excitement to the stadium, and it brings excitement to the players, and it just keep us rolling.
And obviously you do it pretty well, Antwan. But you mentioned how you like getting the ball on an interception or a fumble recovery. You like getting the ball kicked to you and being able to return it, make some moves in open space. Yep. So that leads me to this question. We know last year you went into Coach Banaszak's office and asked him for a shot at returning punts. Have you ever dropped a hint that maybe you would want to get into an offensive package once in a while, maybe catch the ball out of the backfield or line up out wide, like a Cromartie or something would?
Yeah, I actually went to his office and said, hey, why not? I mean, I like getting the ball, and I feel like I can make plays when I get the ball. So, I mean, we'll see. It might be a surprise this year. It might not. So, the NEC definitely will see.
Well, we're obviously not going to ask you to give away any secrets yet, especially before opening day. But we'll be watching on Thursday night, that's for sure, on NEC Front Row when the Colonials kick it off against Eastern Kentucky. I got to ask you one more question while I have you here, Antwan, and this is in terms of the Northeast Conference. A couple of weeks ago, the coaches released their poll, their predicted order of finish. We know that they had Sacred Heart #1, looking for the Pioneers to repeat. I just want to ask you, I don't need you to give me a poll 1 through 7, but do you have any predictions about NEC football for this upcoming season?
I mean, my predictions is just pretty up in the air. I'm doing it 1 week at a time, and I know we're hungry, and I know all the other teams in NEC are hungry. So I'm just looking forward to the season, see who does what, and I'm just excited.
And so are we, and we'll get a chance to see you in action, Antwan, on NEC Front Row Thursday night against Eastern Kentucky. I want to thank you very much for joining us and kicking off this season's Google Hangout series. We'll be with you every Thursday, starting week 2, we'll be with you every Thursday at 11:30 a.m. You can look for your weekly NEC football Google Hangout. Thanks a lot to preseason All-American Antawn Eddie and the Robert Morris Colonials. I'm Ralph Ventre. It's good to be back, folks. Enjoy the season.
Yep.